Rahubat and greetings to my Musba'u Yasar and our YouTube family out there. Let's see, we're trying to get set up here. And if I can get set up. Excuse me 1 minute while I set this all up. Okay. All right. Let's see. Trying to get everything set up. Okay. Are we live? Let's see where. All right. Okay. Greetings to everyone else, everyone who's going to join us, those who are going to watch our chat that we record. We always recommend we do the question and answer classes every Tuesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. sharp Eastern Standard Time. So we do invite everyone who has the ability to join us to come and be a part of this learning experience, this transformation experience. I'm still trying to work on my setup here. And I want to make sure that let's see. That we're all set up. Okay, so let's see. Again, for those who do not know me, my name is Peti Sina Tebtu Rai, and I've been a 30-year student teacher of the profound doctrine of the master teacher, known to us as Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, also known as Panabab Yananan, who has been teaching us our ancient culture now for over 50 some odd years. Our ancient culture we identify as Wu-Sabat, also known as Wu-Nawap, which stands for those who make decisions based on sound right reasonability. The reason why we promote this particular culture is because we argue the challenges that Black people are dealing with today is due to their reasonability, the decisions that they're making. We argue that the suffering that we're dealing with as a people are due to bad decision-making skills, extremely bad decision-making skills. And so we argue the only solution to that problem is for our people to correct their decision making skills, to correct their bad decision skills. Once we begin to make decisions based on sound reasoning, then the conditions in our life will transform for the better. That's the goal. The goal is for our people to begin to start making decisions based on sound right reasoning so that our lifestyle will transform for the better. And so us as students, as students of Wu-Sabat, as students of the master teacher, we dedicated our lives, we dedicate our time, our energy, our focus, our intellect to raising the consciousness of our people. If you're Black and you live in this world, it's not easy. It really is a struggle and a challenge for us. And we're saying we are only struggling and we're only having this challenge due to the decisions that we're making each and every day. Good decisions lead to a good life. Bad decisions lead to a bad life. And we're saying that the reason why we have so many challenges and so many problems within the Black community around the globe is due to our decision making abilities. And the key to that is the culture. Everything is about culture. Life is about culture. And we argue that once we got away from living our indigenous cultures, our original culture being Wu-Sabat, Wu-Nawab, our original cultures, life would when it went downhill from there. In essence, we're arguing that our people are suffering because we're living foreign cultures, and that those cultures may work for the foreigners that taught it to us, but it doesn't work for us to be a subordinate in someone else's culture. So our job is to try to re-educate our people about our ancient culture, our ancient African culture, which was based on living according to natural nature, living according to specific principles, core principles that our ancestors lived by. And so anyone who studies ancient Kemet, ancient Nubia, or any indigenous African culture, you'll find out that our culture was always about being in harmony with nature itself. And that's what Wu-Sabat is all about. Wu-Sabat and Wu-Nawab is about getting back to being in harmony and in tune with nature, living according to the rules and principles of natural nature. Now, so that brings me up to every week. What we do is we introduce our core principles. As Sabians, we live by core principles. And so if I can just try to set up my screen a little better. And these are the core principles that I'm trying to introduce you guys to. Okay. Okay, so for those who are watching this recording and not live, I always recommend join me live. Definitely join me live so that we can engage in question and answer. That's extremely important to be able to engage in question and answer for students, those who really want to learn about the cultural ways of our ancestors. Now, this is episode 2, just so you know, and this is a continuation on the subject matter is who is Dr. Malachi Z.K. York? What is his purpose? And why is he important? Why is he valuable? Why does he matter? Okay. Now, getting back to the core principles of a Sabian and our culture of Wu-Nawab. The first core principle that we talk about is the principle of Ashak. This is the one of the core principles of our culture, which is Ashak. Now, that's a Sabian word in our language. It is not an English word. It is one of our words of our language called Misbatia, and it means love. It means actually divine love. Okay. And that's how it would translate in English, as divine love. And what we teach is that we, as an African people, we live according to the principles of Ashak. Ashak is it's a frequency. Ashak is a spirit force. It's not just a principle. And so Ashak is about it's about how our ancestors used to be in harmony with this spirit force. It was a harmony of peace and tranquility and order and a a hey Raobat Musbao. I'm glad to see you here. But again, the principle of the shock is about harmony and peace and tranquility. It's a spirit force that our ancestors used to be tapped into. They knew how to tap into this particular spirit force. And why is this important? Because when you're tapped into the spirit force of a shock, or as they say, divine love, it is an actual power. And it is the power that is necessary to block the negative spirit forces that are plaguing the planet. Ashak is the spirit force that we must learn to tap into that is plaguing the planet. Our ancestors used to know how to do this. Unfortunately, we forgot. Okay, you said the sound is bad. Press 1 if the sound is bad. Press 1 if the sound is bad. Because I do want to make sure you guys hear me. And which means I will have to take it up with the software provider if the sound is not good. So press 1 if the sound is bad. Okay, so somebody said the sound is bad. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, thanks. All right. Okay, just keep me up to date if I do have some sound problems. I'll work on it. I'll try to fix that. Don't mean to disrupt the class with bad sound. Now, okay, so let's get back. So the core principles I was trying to go over, and the first principle is a shock. And you guys definitely have to comprehend these core principles, because these core principles are the basis of our culture of Wu-Sabat. Okay, and a shock, like I said, is a spirit force that our ancestors knew how to tap into, and it protects you from negative spirit forces. It's what the master teacher used to teach us about how to develop your psychic self-defense. That's key to block you from the negative spirit forces that is plaguing the planet today. Okay, and so force of a shock. This is of the utmost importance. So that's the first principle. The next one is resurrection. The whole basis of our doctrine is about resurrection. Resurrection is about becoming gods again, gods and goddesses that our ancestors once were. We fell from grace and we have to restore ourselves. Resurrection is about restoring yourself back to that God state or that goddess state that our ancestors were. This is who we came from. We came from these beings, these deities who would be, in today's terminology, would almost be considered godlike. And the first way to restoring oneself back to this state is to develop yourself spiritually. And the key to developing yourself spiritually is opening up your third eye. Opening up your third eye. Once you learn how to do that, then the memory of your ancestors, of your bloodline and your origins would be restored. This is the core principle of our doctrine. The core principle of our doctrine is to re-educate our people spiritually once again. We become spiritually ignorant. We talked about this last week, that we became spiritually ignorant, and we've been spiritually ignorant for the last 6,000 years. And we lost our abilities. We lost the knowledge of our origins. and you have the ability to restore it once you re-educate yourself spiritually, which is the whole basis of what our doctrine is all about. The next core principle is Ma'at and the wisdom of Tahuti. I always recommend everyone to watch the lecture we did on the principles of Ma'at, and we lived according to the wisdom of Tahuti. And again, as we go through these episodes, week after week, we're going to get into detail about each of these subject matters. The next principle is relationships. As African people, we always lived as a tribal people, living of, for, and by each other. As I explained before last week, and I'll keep telling you guys this, the only way to fight capitalism, global capitalism, that's creating massive poverty among our people, is to get back to our way of living of, for, and by each other. Okay, and we're going to do some detailed discussions on that principle as well. The next principle is morphic resonance / matrix. In order to open up your third eye, you have to raise your morphic resonance. Everything in existence is about vibration. Everything in existence is about frequencies. And when you live a foreign culture, whether it be a European culture or an Asiatic culture, you tapping into the morphic resonance of that race. You're tapped into their frequency, and you're off your frequency as an African person. Each race of people on earth have a natural morphic resonance by a genetic resonancy. And in order to be in harmony, you have to live a culture that supports that morphic field, that morphic resonance. When you live a foreign culture, it throws off your frequency, it throws off your genetics, it alters you, and it takes you out of harmony with natural nature. This is why we're so confused today. This is why our people messed up. And our matrix is our genetics. And when you mix into your genes, when you mix outside your race, you alter your genetic matrix. And when you alter your genetic matrix, it throws off your morphic resonance, and it takes you out of harmony with natural nature. This is an advanced spiritual science our ancestors knew, and we forgot. So, I give big ups to the brother Umar Johnson, who had his interview on the Breakfast Club. I give big ups to him, and I'm very proud of the brother who talks about Black people need to stop mixing in with other races. Now, he explains it from a social political reason or social political economic reason why we should not do it. But he doesn't know about the scientific reason why we should not be mixing in with no other race. And that's because it alters your morphic resonance. It alters your genetic matrix. So again, we're going to get into that subject matter as we go through these episodes so that you'll know these sciences that we long forgot. The next is soul, spirit, and ach. Ach is ether. It's what the universe is the created substance of what the universe is made from. And your soul and your spirit is made of this energy force. Your soul and your spirit is made of this energy force. Your ancestors understood the principle of soul. They called it Ba in ancient Kemet. Your ancestors understood the principle of spirit. They called it Ka in ancient Kemet. We've lost this knowledge. Our people today, we became religious, whether we are Christian, Muslim, or Jew. We talk about a soul, we talk about a spirit, but they confuse the two. They say soul is spirit and spirit is soul as if it's one and the same, and it's not. And two, they don't understand the science of these spirit energies. You guys are going to learn the science of these spirit energies in our studies. The next principle is Leviathan. Leviathan. Somebody asked a question about Leviathan. I made a statement last week. And let me just say this. Any question I do not answer in a current discussion, I will try to address that question the following week. Any question I do not answer in any of our discussions, I will try to address that question the following week, because I do review these discussions, and I always tell you guys this more than once. Trust me. I plead with you guys. Now, Leviathan. What is Leviathan? Broken up into two words, Levi and Athan. Levi then means sin, S-I-N, sin, the law of sin. Who is sin? Sin is the ancient moon god or the ancient Mesopotamian or Hindu moon god. That is the name of the moon god, sin. A lot. And so this is very important. Leviathan is the ancient Mesopotamian and Hindu moon god called Leviathan. Okay, so Leviathan is the culture, or we call moon culture or moon god culture. So we have a lot to talk about when it comes to Leviathan. And the next is the SMAT circle of existence. We did a 4-part series on the SMAT circle. I keep recommending to you guys, definitely study that lecture. And we definitely going to be addressing that. And the last principle is all, which is all. Existence is based on the principle of all space, all matter, and all time. Absolute nature, infinite, finite, and infinite. You can't add to the all, because where would you get it from? You can't take from the all, because where would you put it? All is. And as I said before, this is where the religious people got their concept of God. They try to say God is the all. And anyone who knows anything about the religious dogma, know their God is not the all. Although they got the concept from my ancestors. And we're going to go more into these principles. But I try to introduce our core principles that you guys have to know these principles inside and out. I can't stress that enough. You must know these principles inside and out. Okay? So, next. All right. I just want to reiterate that any questions or concerns that anyone have, this is one of the reasons why we're doing these classes, is to address questions and concerns in regards to the things that we teach. And like I said, I try to address subject matter current week. And so, like I said, I don't know if it was a question, but it was spoken about. And it just means the law of sin, just so you know. It's the moon god culture or moon culture. Okay. So, and in essence, it's a culture that is not, it doesn't teach to be in harmony with nature itself. It's the opposite of Wu-Sabat. It is the opposite of Wu-Nawab. It is not our culture. Okay. The moon culture is the culture of the European. That's basically what it is. It's a lifestyle where you do not care about being in harmony or in tune with natural nature. Now, when you live that lifestyle, it's the cause of all chaos on earth. In order to have harmony, you have to live in attunement with nature. And in order to be in tune with nature, you have to be tapped into your natural morphic resonance. You have to be in harmony with your matrix, your genetic matrix that I talked about. This is extremely important. And we as African people are not in harmony with our genetic matrix. Once you become in harmony with your genetic matrix, then your third eye would reopen. And once your third eye reopens, you'll have access to higher spirit senses. Okay? You'll have access to higher spiritual senses. This is extremely important. Now, before we get started, if anyone has any specific questions, I have no problem in addressing, those anyone's questions. So definitely, if you got any questions now, don't hesitate, ask so that I can address them. If not, we're gonna move on. So our topic again is, who is Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, the master teacher. Now, let's see. Last week, let me address that because I think it's very important. Last, her name is Tar. One, I have to reiterate that everything we do here is always positive. It's always based on love. It's always based on being in harmony and solving problems that we're dealing with as a people. So, that is the most important thing. Okay, so I want you to guys understand. I'm not here to be debating people, but I am here to have positive discussions and important discussions, regardless of the subject matter. Right? We're here to grow. We're here to develop. Anyone have any questions and concerns? I'm more than willing to address them. Now, the young lady last week brought up some concerns. It's not really questions, but she made some statements, and I think I need to address those statements now. Before I address those statements, now let me see. We do have a question from L or LAKY, the lion says, so would cryptocurrency be considered Leviathan culture? Yeah, all money, anything to do with money is dealing is that's not natural, right? The earth is free. I repeat, the earth is free. I repeat, the earth is free. No one should have to pay to live on the earth. The earth does not charge no one for lumber. Home Depot does, but the earth doesn't. The earth does not charge anyone for water, right? But Deer Park charges you for water. The earth doesn't. No one charges you. The earth does not charge you for vegetation. The earth doesn't charge you for food or cotton that you need to make your clothes. The earth is free. That's why, as our ancestors, ancient Africans, you couldn't own land. There's no such thing as owning years ago, taking everyone's land and occupying it and claiming they own the land. And so, this is very important. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot own the earth. You cannot own the earth, right? The Caucasian thinks you can own the earth. He started this 500 years ago. And now he has us paying to live on the earth. The only way to get around that is to get back to our original culture of living of, for, and by each other. Why is that hard? Because our people don't love themselves no more. We don't like working with each other. And money was created so that you don't have to rely on anyone. We talked about this the other weeks. So instead of relying on your mom or your sister or whomever to cook you dinner, you just go to Red Lobster, right? And instead of having your children mow the lawn, you pay some lawn guy to do it. Money, it destroys relationships. So yes, we live in a society today. Yes, we have to use money. So I'm not saying, let me make this clear. I'm not saying don't get involved with cryptocurrency. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, I'm just trying to answer the question that anything to do with money, yes, that is the whole core of Leviathan, to take people out of harmony with nature. But we're not living African culture right now. We're striving to get back to our culture. We first have to be educated about it before we can start living it again. And so in the meantime, we have to deal with money. In the meantime, we have to deal with money. That's just the reality of it. We all live in homes and apartments and have cars, and we got to pay for food. And so we don't have the lifestyle that I'm talking about yet. we're supposed to be striving towards that lifestyle, but you can't get there without understanding or comprehending its principles. So when you do set up our culture, you know, okay, these are things we're not going to do when we set up our systems again. This is what we're not going to do. We're not going to make the same mistakes of the Mukasu race. And when I say Mukasu, that is the name we use for the Caucasian. We say Mukasu, okay? In our language, Muspatia. Anyone who does class with me, you're gonna be learning your language at the same time because I'm gonna use a lot of the Muspa'u words. So you guys will become familiar with the language. Language is key. Learn your natural language and you can restore your morphic resonance. Learn your natural language, your original African language, and you will restore your morphic resonance because we have to fix our genetic matrix. Our genetic matrix is screwed up from the bad diet we eat, from the bad relationships we've got involved with. Our morphic resonance is really messed up. Huh? It's a lot of static. If it's a lot of static, I apologize, guys. We're still having some technical problems with the sound, but we're gonna get it under control. You know. So, guys, if the sound is still kind of wacky, please definitely press one so that I can be somewhat aware. Definitely press one if the sound is wacky. If it's okay, press zero for you. If the sound is okay, press zero. If the sound is not so good, press one. I do need to be heard, uh, and I want to make sure that no everyone is okay with the sound. Now, all right. So let's see. I did the principles, and I'm going to let's see. Had some notes here. All right. Recommended all students to watch our class on telling facts from fiction. Now, this is a lecture we did. Ooh, one of the first lectures that we did. In fact, let me show it to you guys. And let's see if I can find it. Okay, you see this one right here. This is the lecture we did. This is facts versus fiction. I highly recommend you guys watch. If you haven't watched this lecture, definitely watch this lecture. Okay. And if you watched it a long time ago, definitely rewatch this lecture. Now, why is this important? Because this is getting back to the young lady Tar Nuba and her questions or statements that she was making. A lot of people question our teachings. A lot of people question the master teacher because of his situation, right? Everyone knows who knows the master teacher knows that he has been incarcerated. He has been wrongly incarcerated. He has been wrongly imprisoned. Okay. And we're going to talk about that today. That's one of the things that I do want to get into is his situation. First and foremost, the master teacher is innocent of all charges. The master teacher is innocent of all charges. And I'm extremely confident to say that. I'm not saying that just because I'm a student of the master teacher. I'm saying that because I studied his case. I studied the situation. And it is my job to try to make some of his situation, his case a little bit clearer for you guys. This is why I recommend this particular lecture. The lecture that I did on how do you tell facts from fiction. One of the things that I try to explain in this particular lecture is understanding or comprehending the concept of the noon mind, which is how we make decisions based on Wu-Sabat, sound right reasoning, or we call it noon, which is our spiritual science, versus making decisions based on logic. That is the methodology that the Western world use. They make their decisions based on logic. We as Sabians make our decisions based on noon. There's a big difference. Logic, when logic of the logical mind, when the logical mind makes decisions, it makes decisions based on comprehending specific parts to a subject matter. And it makes decisions based on understanding specific parts to a subject matter. The noon state of mind, when the noon state of mind makes decisions, it looks at the whole, not the parts. It looks at the whole, not the parts, in order for it to make a decision. Okay, so I highly recommend you guys studying that lecture to understand how best we should be making decisions of students of Wu-Sabat. And the reason why I'm stressing this, just about majority of the people have come to a conclusion in of the story, and not the whole way. You can come to an effective conclusion by just hearing parts. But unfortunately, we live in a society that teaches us to make decisions like that, to make decisions based on hearing a part of something, because that part may sound so good. That part may be phenomenal to us, but we don't understand it's just a part. And you can't make decisions based on hearing just a part of something. You have to hear the whole. You have to know the whole. You have to study the whole before you can come to a conclusion. So now, that she's just completely wrong about. And I did a lecture on this one. The one assertion that she made, and if you scroll up here, this lecture here, Dr. York is Aminubi Ra'akta, and Aminubi Ra'akta is Afro Uno. And this is a very long lecture, but it's a very important subject matter. It's 3 hours, well, 4 hours long, actually. But it's a very important subject matter. And I took my time. We put a lot of information in that lecture. And that lecture was true when we did it, and it's still true today. That Dr. York, because people like to say that he's not Aminubi Ra'akta, and they claim this individual by the name of Mr. Johnny Eugene Brown is Aminubi Ra'akta. In fact, I have an image of him. Let me pull it up for you guys. Okay, and this is Mr. Johnny Eugene Brown, and they claim that this particular individual, may he rest in peace, because the good brother has transitioned. So I say this with love. They claim that he is Aminubi with an Okta, and that's a complete fallacy. This one, Mr. Johnny Eugene Brown never claimed to be Aminubi with an Okta, so that's one. But they claim it, even though this man never claimed it. In fact, no one's ever claimed that he's Aminubi with an Okta, not even Mr. Brown's wife that they like to claim, because his wife claimed he's Afro Uno, and that's a whole nother subject. But let's deal with the first part. They claim that he's Aminubi with an Okta. Mr. Brown never claimed this. Mr. Brown's family's never claimed this. And there's nowhere that says that Mr. Brown is Aminubi with an Okta. So but the young lady, and she's a part of a group of individuals who call themselves Noonie Boos. This is what they teach. This is what they talk about. Okay? And it's not good, because it misinforms people. The master teacher is Aminubi with an Okta. Dr. York is Aminubi with an Okta. He said it 1,000,000 times in so many ways. In fact, let me see here. I'm going to bring up some data on it so you guys can see. Okay, right here. This is a book the master teacher put out back in 1995 or 1996. It does Dr. Malachi Z.K. York try to hide uh, that he is Imam Isa. So this is a book about the different types of personalities and names that the master teacher had went by. Okay. And so let me pull up the first page. It says right here. It says, my method of teaching, I made us become Christians, uh, and I revealed the name Reverend Dwight York. Now, this is a very important name because people like to say that his name is Dwight. Now, for those who do not know, uh, the master teacher growing up was called Dwight. For those who do not know, the master teacher growing up was called Dwight. But that wasn't his birth name. Okay. That was not his birth name. People identified them with that name as a young man. Okay. So, and that's the story all to itself, and we can address that. Now, in fact, let me just say this, and I like to show people this. Let's see if I can find it. I'm gonna show you another image. If I can find it, I will show it to you. Let's see. Here's another image. This is pertaining to this topic. Now, this is me, guys. This is a picture of me. Now, this picture was taken. Let me tell you why I'm showing you guys this. This is me. I was an Ansar when we used to call us. No, 1990. Okay. Now, why I'm saying I was born and raised in New York City, I was born in New York, grew up in Brooklyn, right? My family was connected to the master teacher's family growing up. So my uncle actually had a relationship. Okay, let me, for those who didn't, Brooklyn, and I grew up in Manhattan. My uncle used to date the master teacher's sister, one of his sisters. So my uncle knew him growing up. He knew him growing up. So when I say I have a connection to knowing, huh? For those who did not hear that statement, because it looks like I keep having some sound problems, but I'll raised in New York, intimate connection to. He used to date one of the master teacher's sisters. So I hope you guys hear that because it keeps breaking up. Okay, so hopefully you guys heard that. But let me get back to um, this other image. I can find it. Let's see. It's 7:45 p.m. Let me get back to this image. Oh, Kabeta, can you go in the freezer? I put water in. Can you take that out? Put water in there. Thank you. At, I can find. Okay. So I'm trying to get back to the thank you. Trying to get back to the original image I had on this subject about Amanubi. Um, okay, here we go. All right. So again, I'll get into that story, but I won't get into the whole the white thing yet right now. But the master teacher is Dr. Malakazi K. York. So that's very clear. And if you look in this particular book right here, what you're gonna see is, let's see, it says, revealed the title of Rabboni Yeshua when we began to study Egyptology, and I revealed the title Amanubi with an octa, which I have had since 1967. Okay, so we put this out. We put this out in a in a book way. This was, like I said, 1996, and the master teacher wrote another book. He put another book out just on this subject matter of Nawapo and Amanubi or the Octa. Okay, fact or fiction, explaining who he is. It says the purpose of this scroll is to give those people who question the very origin of the meaning of the words Nawapo and Amanubi with an Octa a clear understanding of what they mean. Both words are introduced to the public in the Western world as far back as 1967. So right there, he wrote a whole book explaining who he is. So even if the brother that the Noonie Boos claim is Mr. Brown is Aminubi, right? Let's say Mr. Brown is this person allegedly. As a teacher, debated this point. He made it very clear. And the only argument that these individuals, sister that was on our thread last week, the only argument is from a letter, a little, a one sentence of a letter that you don't get to see the whole letter, where they're assuming the master is saying he's not Amanubi, and they use that one sentence to base a whole argument on. And we have tons of publications. We have the master teacher on videotape saying he's Amanubi. We have him in old books. We have him in new books. And not to mention, he lives up to the name Amanubi, the Octa. You know, it's not no disrespect to Mr. Brown, but Mr. Johnny Eugene Brown never lived up to the title of Amanubi with the Octa. He never lived up to that title. Okay, so I think that's real important. I think that's real important for people to know that Mr. Brown never lived up to the title of Amanubi with the Octa. Okay, it's extremely important that people know that. All right, so this is important. This gives people insight on who the master teacher is, who he has always claimed to be, and just who he is. Now, going back to, because people like the young lady, she makes claims, and I think it's important for people to understand the claims about the master teacher stealing people's knowledge and plagiarizing and all that stuff is silliness. A lot of those claims, unfortunately, are coming from 3X students of the master teacher, 3X students who have become his biggest I guess antagonists, you can say, slanderers. It's sad because they were all ex students taught by the master teacher. So you have the guy Chuck Morgan, who created the website nawapianism.com, and his ego's so high he thinks his site is unquestionable, and he how can I say? doctrine because the brother Chuck Morgan has been in our organization from the time I came in 1989. So if you're not familiar with our doctrine, you'll get tricked by him. But for someone like myself who's been in the organization as long as him, and now longer since he quit back in 2011, it's easy to address the thing he's saying, because again, the video I said of how they tell fact from fiction. What they do is they give you bits and pieces and try to make people make decisions based on a part and not the whole, all of the story. That's a trick. Specializes in people making noon-based mind always looks at the whole, not just the parts. It's very important that you guys know this. So I repeat over and over, watch that lecture. And this will help you guys from not being tricked by disagreeables, okay? That's very important. So let's is getting into more in detail about the master teacher, the master teacher's mission, his objectives, right? This is very important, and I have something here I want to go over with you guys and read, because this I think this is a very important information that you guys need to know. Now, this is from a particular book that we put out. I'm sorry, I went through it fast. It's an actual facts book. It's called Hakehu, Hakehu, and it stands for history or his story. Hakehu, and that's in our language, Sabian, right? And this is actual facts number 73. Now I'm gonna start at paragraph. I'm gonna start reading from paragraph 146. Okay, paragraph 146 from this particular book, and it reads: When all is asked of you is tolerance and patience, and not to duck when the truth is thrown at you. I came giving you what you wanted until you learn to want what I really came to teach, because truth is truth. I came in kashar, which means flesh, to lead you towards repentance. Yet, because many of you and your stubbornness and your unrepentant hearts, you are storing up wrath against yourselves for the day that Panatharu, the overseers, and the days which precede, you make the choice to work, which is sixth ether spirit, and reject your own muslafu, your own ancestors. Meaning, he's saying that our people rather worship the Mukasu's deities from their religions rather than acknowledging our own African ancestors, right? He goes on to say, Muspa'u, I myself urge you all to watch out and be careful of those shadow people, those who cause division and distractions. They put obstacles in your way that are contrary to your own true way, which is Wu-Sabat. Avoid and keep away from them, for such black mudwa'u, which is devils, are not serving Panatharu, the overseers, but their own appetites. By smooth talk and offers of gifts, with them the flattery, they deceive the Akal Act, the minds of the young and naive Shikasu people from among Muspa'u. Everyone now has heard about Wu-Sabat and your devotion to Baba Yananun, myself. So I am full of joy over you accepting what I came down to Matha, earth, to warn and teach you, to renew your story, not his story, Khazabat, which is lies. Yet, Musba'u, I only want you, I only want for you the right knowledge and the right wisdom and the right understanding, sound right reasoning, which is Wu-Sabat, to have Nupu overpower Zupu. You know, Musba'u, that my visit to you was not a failure. I had previously suffered and been insulted by those of the Ibrahim, which means Abraham's Za'amat religions, Abraham religions, as you know, slandered on, lied about, yet with the Nasar help of our overseers, I dare even while in prison to tell you about Wu-Sabat. Pa Sachem, the power of Nupu over Zupu, in spite of strong opposition, because what I came down to teach does not spring from faith and belief or other errors or impure motives, nor am I trying to trick you. Don't believe me, check it all out. It was my own Mada'at words to you. Check it out. Do not believe me or any other who stands up to teach or preach. Talub, seek the facts. The returning of Panatharu. As of the year 2003, they came, and 2013 was the return date for lift if all were ready and chanting in the right tone at the right places at the right wakut time with the right rituals. And all is gathered with Baba Yananun, Pa Kabat, the center, with the three voices in one. We, Mozaku, the Riskians, ask you, Musba'u, Sabians, do not become easily unsettled if you failed the lifts of 2003 and or 2013. Don't be alarmed by who speaks without the Kadash, the secrets. Rachach egg, knowledge. Their reports or writings, their Mada'at words, are those of one blinded by Za'amus, religious faith, in the Mesopotamian Dagar deities, Zoroaster, taught as Ahoro Mazda, and Anunnaki, who taught Tammuz to teach the Adamites religion of the flyer worship. Okay, so I'm gonna stop right there. So I thought that was important because we were kind of dealing with the subject matter of those disagreeables that try to lead you off the path of righteousness. They try to lead you off the path based on, again, they want you to make decisions based on parts of information and not having the whole information. That's their specialty. That's their specialty. And our goal, like I said, has always been about resurrection, to restore yourselves, to restore your morphic resonance, to correct your gene about. And this is what the master teacher dedicated himself to. Okay. Now, let's see. On the same topic, where are we at? 8 o'clock. Let's go here. Let's see here. I want to keep apologizing because I keep getting told that the sound is going in and out. So I will definitely look into that for next week. But we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going no matter what. We're going to get this done. I'm going to make this work. Okay. This book right here, we put out, the master teacher put out, and this is the actual facts number 23. And this is called Pa Tanjul Shalil Yanun Pa Kadesh Vanas Tasu, the Gospel of Yanun on the Sacred Feminine. This is a very important book, especially for our Sabaean Zamaltat, which means sisters. For our sisters, this is very important for our sisters. There's a lot of science in here about our genetics. No one has taught genetics like the master teacher explaining our genetics and how important the African genes are, how important our bloodline is, how sacred our genetics are. If our people only knew how important our genetics were, one, they would never mix in with no other race. Two, they would make sure that they were eating what we should be eating, because we all eat bad, unfortunately, I'm included. We live in Western culture and we've been poisoned here. And they grow poison food. Even so-called organic food is still poison food here. It's really bad, right? And it's all designed to, okay? And especially of the African female, the Black woman has the most superior genetics on the planet Earth. I repeat that. The Black woman has the most superior genetics on the planet Earth. Okay? This is one of the reasons why we say the Black woman is God. And this book is, those who have it, read it again, read it. I don't know how many times I read this book. It has to be studied because it's very scientific and it's very important. Okay. Let's see. And this is the master teacher, and this is the Riskians. So for those who haven't seen the image of the Riskians, this is what these beings look like. And one of the things that let's see. Is about how to open up your third eye and the importance of restoring your third eye, because that's how you correct your matrix. This is how you restore your matrix. But in order to open your third eye, you have to restore your morphic resonance. You have to alter your vibration. We're vibrating on a very low vibration because we're vibrating the same frequency of the Caucasian. Okay. We're vibrating on the same frequency of the Caucasian. Now, why is that important? Because this goes back to one of the principles I talked about, which is the SMAT circle. I want to bring that up. Let me see if I can find the SMAT circle. Okay, now this is the SMAT circle. Okay, and let me just make this picture a little bit larger. Now, here's what you have. Now you see on the bottom here it says 3 South. We are on the right side of 3 South. This is where we are in the universe. This is what we call the universal clock. And 3 South stands for 3 ether energy, or third dimensional energy. 3 ether energy. This is the energy that the human beings and the whole universe right now are vibrating on. This is a 3 ether energy. Okay. And that's called the material realm, where it identifies as the material. The universe spins, it goes through some distance. As the universe is moving up, it goes from a 3 ether cycle, then it goes into a 4 ether cycle, it goes to a 5 ether cycle, then it goes to a 6 ether cycle, 7, all the way up to 9 ether up top here. And then it drops down, right? Drops down to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, and back to 3. And this is the fluctuatings of the energies. The energies get potent at one time, it gets weak at another time. So when you're in a 3 ether cycle, that's when the cycles are weak in the universe. And certain species can exist in that cycle. Now, we as African people, we have the ability to exist on every dimensional cycle. We can raise our morphic resonance to exist in 4 ether cycle, a 5 ether cycle, a 6 ether cycle, a 7 ether cycle, an 8 ether cycle, and a 9 ether cycle. This is why we call ourselves 9 ether beings, because we originate when the universe is created. It's a 9 ether cycle that it is being created. Okay. And we grew, the African woman and the African man grew with this original ether force. Okay. But the universe, like everything, has a time cycle in it, and it has a cycle of up and have a cycle of down. Okay. And we're right now in a cycle of down on our way up. So we're moving from a 3 ether cycle into a 4 ether cycle. Now, here's the key. In order to survive this cycle change, in order to survive for people to be able to survive the cycle change, you have to, your morphic field that we talked about has to be able to, you have to be able to raise your vibration in order to exist as the cycle goes up. You have to be able to raise your vibration as the cycle goes up. This is extremely important. This is something that the Caucasian doesn't teach anyone about. Part of that, he doesn't teach it because his genetics cannot survive the cycle change. This is why the Caucasian race, look it up, they're not reproducing. They're beginning to go extinct. In fact, first of all, you don't have no pure blood Caucasians on the planet anyway. The original Caucasians, or the Mukasu, were blonde hair, blue eyes, red hair, green eyes. I repeat, the original Mukasu, the original ancestors that walked this planet 6,000 years ago, they were all blonde hair and blue eye, red hair, and green eye. Because they had weak genetics, were messed up, they had to mix in every 400 years. This is one of the reasons why they had to have slavery. It's another reason why they collect so much blood when you go to the hospital. They're always taking vials and vials of blood. When people go get blood tests or different things, they don't need that much, but they do it on purpose because they need blood. They harvest blood. The Mukasu needs our blood, the African woman and an African man's blood. They're what you call modern day vampires. It's one of their secrets that they don't tell people. But if you do some research and try to figure out why they need all this blood, you'll find out why. It's another reason why they're promoting some odd years from now. They're dying off. The earth is heating up. Right now, Bill Gates, look this up. He's talking about how he wants to put some kind of screen over the earth to block the sun because of global warming. Right? And so, which is a crazy idea. It's like, block the sun. That's insane. But they have to do it for genetic reasons. It is important that we as African people understand our genetics. It is important as we as African people know more or learn more about our genes and why your genetics are important, especially the African woman, excuse me. The African woman's genetics are into it. To teach your nieces, to teach your moms, to teach your aunts, right? All Black women around the earth need to understand their genetics. They need to stop messing up their genetics by messing up their hair, not loving their natural hair. Because everyone knows a Black woman has an issue with her hair, her natural hair. And by all the things she's doing to her hair, it messes up her morphic frequency. And it's keeping you out of tune with nature itself. And it's aging us. It's what's causing a lot of diseases that we're dealing with as a people. And it's the reason why a lot of us are dying at we're dying from things we shouldn't be dying from. Teacher put this book out called The Man of the Hour. The Man of the Hour. Very important because it represented that he had to teach us for a period of 60 years from 1970 to the year 2000. We call it the first resurrection. And from the year 2000 to 2030, we call it the second resurrection. Now, I want to go into that. And let's see. And I repeat, anyone have any questions, by all means, you guys have to have questions. This knowledge is so much information that we teach. What will help in your development is by asking detailed questions pertaining to what we teach. So I highly recommend that, guys, to definitely ask questions. It is necessary, actually. Now, let me find a particular book I want to go into. Okay. Let's see. Let's see it here. Um, find it. Another way to find this, but all right. I think I found it. Fact. Let's see. It's called reflection and projection. Our Sabine word is Takus Wu Tabrus. Takus Wu Tabrus. Actual facts number 29. All right. So let's see. All right. I'm going to start from paragraph 337. Paragraph 337. It says this. He was called Tuk Ankh Amun, the image of the living Amun, the living image of Amun Re. Paragraph 338. Let's see. He was Pa Munbak Khorad, the golden child, the gateway. Pa Mumsa. He was the Messiah. Yet they let him die and killed his Khoradu, his offspring, while yet in the Raham, the womb, as you read in Revelations chapter 12. They really searched and tried to find all the Kadesh Natat, and that means holy seed, Katul, kill them in Jesus of 2,000 years ago. Was always expecting a safe ways. This has been going on now for the last 3,000 years. And the children of Leviathan has been trying to stop the resurrection of our people, to restore us back to our ancient ways, to restore us back to our godlike abilities and powers. The children of Leviathan, this is what created the Illuminati. Their whole goal is to stop this resurrection, or as the Messiah. This is a very real thing. This is a very real thing. They wanted to put a stop to us being restored to our ancient ways. Okay, the children of Leviathan, that's their whole goal. The Illuminati, the Freemasons, this is their whole goal, is to put a stop to this. One of those golden children, took Amun, or King Tut. He was a golden child, and he had the ability to open up what we call the Bawaba, the gateway, a portal. These are interdimensional portals that allowed us to interdimensional travel. Now, that's a whole nother subject. I'm not going to get into that right now, but let's keep going. I just want to kind of give you guys an update on what this is about. So we're going to go to paragraph 344. And it says this. This was done to cut off the Kadesh Natat, the holy seed, so as Pa Mumbat Khorad, the golden child, could not be born who carried the Sayim, the divine DNA. So that whole story about Herod, this is back in Jesus' time. They wanted to kill the first, they was trying to find a savior, Jesus of 2,000 years ago. That story was about trying to cut off the golden child. It was the same story they tried to do the thing with in the story in the Bible talks about Pharaoh, and that's how Moses got saved. They was trying to kill this particular golden child to be born a savior. Okay, it's a very real thing. They put it in their religion, but remember, their religions were plagiarized from our culture. It's very important that you guys know that. So let's keep going. Paragraph 345. In America since 1914, they had been searching for Pa Munbat Khorad, the golden child. They knew he would be born in the West. Each Khamim, black leader they watched, they listened to hear what he taught. It is the same old religion, or is it new? They saw most teach a form of Mosesism or Jesusism or Mohammedism. No matter how they shade it, change it, update it, the underlying is their tune. Most choose leaders not tahir, pure bloods. So nothing to fear by the Tananu, the Dragonians. These are the overlords of the Mukasu, these reptilians. Again, that's another subject, but let's keep going. It's not any of them. They still teach Abrahamism. Okay, so the master teachers talking about they've been searching for looking at black leaders since 1914 to see who's this golden child. But they notice when they listen to their teachings, all of their teachings are coming from this Mesopotamian religions, whether it be Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. That's what he's saying. So they know that that's not the golden child, because the golden child will have this new doctrine that our ancestors lived by, right? Not the plagiarized doctrines that was forced on us called religions today. Let's keep going. Says no one helps or hears their namaz or act, their prayers, wrong tone or tune. See, they not when you're into these foreign religions, it takes you off of your morphic resonance. Okay, the whole goal of resurrection, you have to get back into your natural nature tones, the original tones of your matrix, of your genetic matrix, the original frequencies. This is important. Says paragraph 352, tone or lahaj, which means language. They saw many had some truth, yet not reason. Most did not speak the misan, the tongue of the religions that they live by. Paragraph 354. Not Habar Ui, they didn't speak Hebrew, they didn't speak Greek or Ge'ez or Arabic, right? So most of the people who were teaching these cultures, he's talking about a lot of our black leaders who were teaching these religions, they didn't even speak the ancient languages. They didn't understand the ancient languages, or they couldn't break down the original meanings of the things they were teaching. They were teaching from English. So the secret government, they understood that those guys wasn't really a threat to them. Let's see, paragraph 355. He goes on to say, Pa Kasna'u into Khawaf, fear of these Khamim, these black leaders. They watched, and I watched them. Paragraph 357. I stayed out of the public eye as I walked along with those who I taught from school to school to show them what is being taught to you from the East is not even half true. So you should give it back. So the master teacher trying to say that he understood a lot of our people were being taught these Mesopotamian religions, and they had, unfortunately, the teachers didn't have no idea what they were teaching, especially since they didn't even understand the ancient languages that these Mesopotamian religions came from. Paragraph 358. Yet I knew I must stay beneath the Maya, the water, in order to give what I came to give, which is Wu-Sabat. While my Shikasu people asked me for what they wanted to hear of the Abrahamic religions, Abrahamism, I kept my eye on a clock of destiny from my Ladud birth in 1945. I tried to Lakun teach in 1963, Wu-Sabat. The Mudwa'u, the devil, saw that and arrested me, locked me up until 1967. Came out, knew I had to take my time with Wu-Sabat. By 1970 and 1973, I opened the seventh seal as Nubian Islamic Hebrews. Nubian stands for Egypt, Islamic stood for the tribe of Kedar, which is meant the black tribe, and Hebrews for the mixing of Hagar and Magmet, which is Egyptian, and Abraham, which is Chaldean. Paragraph 364. I took my time, raised a symbol of six-pointed star for the 6,000 years and crescent for the Hutui, the symbol. I traveled back and forth to Egypt, Sudan, Morocco, Mecca, Jerusalem, and Lebanon, many places as I met the right people, each to give me a key. I had 30 years to work from 1970 to 2000, which is the first half hour, as it's called in Revelations chapter 1. Then to the second, or the double tabuth, double resurrection from the year 2000 to the year 2030. That's why we have that symbol. The symbol behind me called the Unctwi, it stands for the double resurrection, which is the opportunity to restore themselves. We had the first change, which was the Ankh. That was from 1970 to the year 2000. And then from the year 2000 to year 2030 is the Ankh Tui. That's the it's the double resurrection time. It's the second time, the second opportunity for us to restore ourselves. It says, paragraph 368, I knew most of those around me would fall away. So I stated, the first fruits is faithful yet not true. By that I meant they love religion, they love faith, yet not the truth, hakak, actual facts, which is hakak al hakak at in the Wapic, like Wu-Sabat. I used to try every now and then to hint at Wu Nawab in our many Sakafat books, yet most ignored it, went back to what they wanted, not what I came to give. It was about an Isa al Masih or Jesus, and showed them Muhammad to the Ansar Allah community. The question: can you explain what is a golden child or children? And question: does the loop on the ankh represent the wound of the woman? Okay. All right. So the golden child and golden children, all Black people by birth and natural nature are golden children by blood. All Black people by birth, uh, those all Black people with woolly hair by nature. Like I should let me make that correction. All Black people that have woolly hair by nature are golden children, okay, by blood and birth, right? So it's in your bloodline to be a golden child. But what does that mean, right? All that means is real simple. And let me go back to the principles. It's in our principles. Principle number 6: soul, spirit, and ah. Ah is the ether energy. It's in golden energy. It's the energy that comes from the suns of the universe, the sun, the rays of the sun. We're made of that energy. Our spirit and our soul is made of that energy. You become a golden child when you learn to turn yourself inside out. When you're able to restore your oversoul, and the whole body becomes full of light. It talks about this in the Bible. If you read Matthew chapter 6, verse 22, I challenge you guys to look it up. The body becomes full of light. Bible, John chapter 1, verse 1. Your morphic frequency. When you restored your morphic resonance and you corrected your genetic matrix, you open your third eye and you become a soul being controlling the body, and that's when you become a golden child. When that energy takes over. Now this is a very complex subject matter. Time for people who haven't studied the subject matter to begin to comprehend it, but it's a very real reality. Our ancestors have been, how can I say, they had rituals that they used to transform themselves back into golden children. Okay, and we have rituals. This is one of the reasons why the disagreeable ones had to lock the master up, because of the rituals we were doing, and the culture that he was teaching was a culture of transformation, to transform us back into these golden children. And we wrote a book on it called The Golden Children. For those who don't know, I don't know if I might have a copy of that book if I can find it. I don't know if it's in here or not. I don't have it. But we talk about it in different books. Okay. Just so you know about what it means to be a golden child. Now, let me clear this up. There were specific incarnations who were specific golden children. That's a whole nother subject matter. So I don't want to, between the years of 1973 and I believe in the years of 2003, of specific golden children who incarnated onto this planet. But that's a whole nother subject matter. Okay. But it's all related to what I just said. Now, let's go back to the other question. Does the loop on uh, does the loop on the ankh represent the womb of the female? Some people teach that. It can represent the womb represents the top of the smack circle. The top of the smack circle, I showed you that. Let me go back to it. That loop, in all honesty, actually represents the cycle of NoopooH. Okay, let's see. This loop, it represents the cycle of NoopooH. That loop that you see in Ankh, the bottom of the Ankh represents Zupul, and the top of the Ankh represents NoopooH. And if you notice this horizontal line, that's that cutoff line. Whether you're an ascending going up on the right side, or you're descending being going down on the left side. Okay, so that's actually where the Ankh comes from. It represents resurrected dimension. The loop means you're going from the abode of the human beings into the realm of the Nathar, where our ancestors live. Our ancestors who are alive, they are existing on the fourth, fifth, all the way up to the ninth dimension. We are on the third dimension. We are on a three ether planet. They live on 4 ether, 5 ether, 6 ether, all the way up to 9 ether planets. Okay. When you open your third eye, you will be able to make contact with your ancestors. When you make contact, with our ancestors who live on these higher dimensions. They live on a 4 ether dimension or a 5 ether dimension, all the way up to 9 ether. Okay. The Mukasu is doing everything in his power to make sure you don't raise your morphic resonance so you don't make contact. Because if you make contact, you restore your memory, you restore your abilities, your higher senses. It is very involved. All right. And they're doing everything to make sure that does not happen. That's what the master said. They've been looking for the golden child, the special one, which means the first resurrected of the dead, the first one who would have been born among us, which is the master teacher, to teach us all how to restore ourselves back to our abilities. That's why they had to lock him up. That's what I hope this whole case is about. But what's this other question? Will the Natharu return in shams, which can hold 50 passengers each, with the Crystal City and the Beryl return? And what does it mean that they will leave with or without us? They sure will. They sure. Okay. The only way you can get on a sham or a craft, you have to you have to restore your morphic resonance. That's what I keep talking about. That's what resurrection is all about. You won't be able to, you won't even be able to survive on a craft in the conditions that you're in. We will not, none of us will be able to, the master teacher said, you touch the craft, you get electrocuted because your frequency is too low. And the Mukasu is doing everything in his power to make sure our frequency stay low. TV keeps our frequency low. Radio, music we listen to keep our frequency low. The food we eat keep our frequency low, right? And most people are not doing the meditation exercises. You're not doing the concentration exercises. You're not doing the chanting. All of those things raise your vibration. You have to be able to raise your morphic frequency. And you'll know when you're doing that because, like I said, you'll feel the spiritual effects as you're raising your vibration. You'll know, and you'll know when your third eye is about to open. You'll know. Okay, so no one will be able to make it on those crafts. That is just not going to happen. That's what the double resurrection is all about. We have another chance to make it between. And mind you guys, we're already in 2021. We're already wasted 21 years. You missed the 2003 pickup. We missed the 2013 pickup. The next vortex open is in 2023. You know, says next question is the great balls of fire still relevant? That they will be sucked up and rekindled and launched back at the planet, or will it be responsible? Who will be responsible and why? Yes, the Great Ball of Fire that's a very real phenomenon. The master teacher talked about that. Here's the thing. Leviathan must be defeated on this planet. That's what you guys got to understand that. Okay, the negative forces that is controlling the earth must be defeated. The master teacher came as a warner to us that the Natharu was going to take the dragon out of power by force. So they wanted us out of the way. That's what resurrection was all about. They wanted to restore us so we can get off the planet so we wouldn't be a part of the destruction. But because our people love the Mukasu's culture, the master teacher said, if y'all don't raise up, you're going to be a part of the destruction with the rest of humanity that don't listen. Because everyone was sent a warner to educate them. Every race was sent a warner of their people to educate them about the other dimensions and about their higher dimensional family. Everyone has someone to guide them. Everyone has a chance on the planet Earth to be restored. But if you don't listen, like most people on Earth don't listen, then everyone is subject to be caught up in the destructions. And look at us now. We're all subject to this COVID, right? We're subject to volcanoes. We're subject to landslides and earthquakes and tornadoes and tsunamis. We're dying. It's a real thing. This is the end of the cycle. Read Matthew chapter 24. Revelation resurrected. No one has raised their vibrations up to tap in. Okay, the master teacher made it very clear. Once you open your third eye, you'll be able to make contact with the Natharu. Let me show you that, because you guys need to know that. That's a very important topic. Let's see what book I have that I need you guys to see. One second. Hey, let's see, I found it. Now this book is called The Materialization. It's called right. This book, I think it came out like in 2000. Master teacher put this book out in the year 2000. Okay. All right. All right, let me see. All right. All right, I'm gonna read from this book, The Materialization. It's called the materialization right. It says that all things are created in tones. Hold on for 1 second. Okay. It says all things are created in tones and octaves of energy and vibrations from the source, Amun. As I said before, in the name Amun itself, you can see the tone. With the right amount of input, all your glands to vibrate on a certain frequency and put you on a station where there is information being broadcast that you will be able to pick up and receive telepathically from your higher senses, which is telepathy, clairvoyance, psychometry, and intuition. With this, the Etherians will speak directly to you in what steps to take, where to go when times get beyond repair, and you manifest. And so you can make contact with the Nathar. That's what the book is trying to say. In fact, this whole book is explaining that. If you read it, this whole book is telling you, okay, you can't connect to your own third eye. You'll be able to make contact, or you'll be able to connect with your oversoul. And once you're able to connect with your oversoul, you'll be able to make direct communication with the Nathar, the same way the master teacher is able to do. That's all the master teacher came to teach us. He came to teach us to do the exact same things he can do. He has the ability, he has direct communication with the Nathar. We have the same ability, but you have to raise your morphic resonance to do it. That's all our doctrine's been teaching for the last 50 years. Literally, that you have to develop yourself spiritually, right? In order to do it. But the problem is all of us are stuck in Caucasian culture. And we our vibrations low. That's what so that we can live away from the Mukasu, so we wouldn't be trapped in his system. And this is why they had to lock him up, to stop him from trying to teach us how to transform ourselves, to make contact for, because you're not supposed to believe this doctrine. You're supposed to know it. The master teacher teaches a lot of exotic things. That's what the slanderers complain about. They complain that, oh, he's telling you things that you can't prove, you can't do this and that. Yeah, because it was designed for you to raise yourself up and you to make contact. If things to develop themselves spiritually, so that they know that this stuff is real. Me personally, I've been doing spirit, I'm telling you as a fact, this stuff is very real. But spiritual development is layers to this. And it's very delicate and very detailed. It's nothing to play with. The master teacher made this very clear. You're going to be a very serious individual if you want to develop yourself spiritually. Most people are not. Most people are not dedicated enough. Most people are not committed enough, unfortunately. And we put book after book after book explaining how to do this, right? This is just one of many books. For instance, I can go right here. Let's see. This is Actual Facts, number 18, tone, sound, DNA, molecules, vibrational frequency. This whole book is about how to raise your vibration. See this right here? This is opening your third eye. This is your third eye open. This is your third eye closed. This is the image of it. See that? This is an Actual Facts. That's when your third eye is open, then that's when you become a golden child. Once you open your third eye, you restore you become one with your oversoul. Right? And this whole book is explaining how to do that. Let's see. It talks about let's see. What does this go here? Let me read. I'm gonna read this for you. Some of the stuff. Let me see. Let me see. Let's see. I guess I'll start at paragraph 30. It says much of the energy is millions, if not billions, of years old. He's talking about stars. Okay, energies from stars that's hitting the planet. They act in ways that you are only beginning to learn in Wunuwap, such as what is dark matter and neutrinos and ether. From time and past, these constant interactions of energy particles or waves has plotted the course of existence and physical evolution. So it is said, man's fate is controlled by the stars. The Negroids receive tones. Here's the key: Nagato receives tones and vibrations from the sun and the stars, which are suns, while the Caucasian and other non Negroids only receive reflections from the moon. No direct light or vibration, only reflections, no sounds, no tones. Why they have no rhythm, are not rhythmic, and again need to make you Africans with soul convert your dancing and singing to change to what they do, and the noise they call music, which is yelling or howling. Now look at Negroids moving and sounding as they do. It's it's his plan to steal your soul by giving them wealth to act like them or teach them. Now they want to mix that their 6,000 year moon cycle is ended. So just as radio waves carry information provided by the sender, also the waves transferring energy to you carry any and all kinds of information, which is you. You're receiving them at all times. It's just that you're on the wrong station. See, he's saying you're receiving communication from different star constellations, frequencies all the time. It's just that you're on the wrong station or frequency and can't see or hear them speaking and incarnating for you. Like a radio or TV, it's off. It it's off. If you are not in tune with your own station or broadcasting signals that you are built to receive, meaning your morphic resonance, born to receive, which is your matrix, from your own ancestors. This that is if you accept others' cultures, religions, way of life, if you carry their names, their titles, accepts their ancestors' spirit forces called deities or gods, prophets, messiahs, or mahdis, and so on. When you speak in their tones, it's like the radio is not tuned on your own station. So you only receive their spirit forces who will not help you in any way, yet they will use you to fill. This is why we get possessed in their churches or we get possessed in voodoo rituals because our people are connecting to the wrong spirit forces. Okay? We forgot how to tap into our natural tone, our original morphic tones, guys. And this is all the master's been trying to teach for the last 50 some odd years. But what's the question? What is the oversoul? I read it, but don't get the terminology. Oversoul seems like it's not outside, or is it the inner soul? Question. Okay. Question. What is the ego? Another term for six ether negative forces. Ego. Let me deal with that real quick. The ego exerts I-ness, right? The ego is a two-edged sword. I repeat, the ego is a two-edged sword. The ego is what propels your desires, is what propel your desire to do good or propel your desire to do bad. Unfortunately, most of our people use their ego to do disagreeable things. Most of our people use their ego to feed six ether forces. You can also use your ego to do rituals. You can use your ego to chant. You can use your ego to meditate. You can use your ego to do righteous things. So it's a two-edged sword. It is the desire you. The ego is the part of you that wants you to do things. The question becomes, what are you going to do? That which is agreeable or that which is disagreeable? Okay? That is what the ego is all about. Now, what is the oversoul? The oversoul. Okay. That in itself gets into a very complex discussion, but let me try to address it this way. Another book we put out, the master, he wrote guys, he wrote every book for these subjects. And remember, the master, when he puts something in a book, he puts it more than once. But you gotta understand, our books are almost like a puzzle. So you gotta like search through all of them, right? To find out, to look at the way he will answer certain types of questions. Okay. But let me see if I can find what I'm looking for. What is spirit and what is soul? What is spirit and what is soul? Okay. Now, this particular book deals with that subject matter. All right, now let's see. In this particular book, let's see if I took a picture of it, if I put it in here or not. The barotheric, let's see. Although the barotheric gland has been removed, okay, ether counterpart, okay, not that. Okay, now in this book, I highly recommend it because it talks about opening up your third eye. It talks about how to open up your third eye. Again, like I said, when you open up your third eye, that's how you connect with your oversoul. Now the question is, what is the oversoul, right? Let's see if I'm not sure if I put it in, if I copied it or not in this book or not. Okay, here it is. This is the picture the master put. This right here, this image. This is your oversoul, this energy. Okay, when the physical body, understand this, guys, when your physical body dies, your physical body lives off of energy, spirit energy, soul energy. That's what gives the body life. So if I was to shoot somebody in the heart and their heart stopped pumping and you start pumping blood, the spirit that activates the body, it lives off of blood. Once the blood flow stops, the spirit can't live in the body, the spirit leaves the body. Now, Black people, we have a spirit and we have a soul force. Your soul force is what connects you with your oversoul. I repeat, your soul force is what connects you with your oversoul. And your oversoul is pure representation of the master tried to show. Soul connects your spirit and it becomes one. So when you physically die, or when you, let's say you resurrect, when you resurrect, your physical body, basically what that's trying to say is your physical body, the cells of your body is vibrating in harmony with your spirit body or your spirit energy. Right now, our spirit energy and our physical body, the cells of our physical body are not in tune with each other. They're out of sync. And so that's what we say your morphic resonance is off. Our spirit energy is vibrating at a very high frequency, and we have to raise our physical body, our cells of our bodies, to vibrate at the same frequency, which is your oversoul. Once they're vibrating at the same frequency, they connect like hands in a glove. They connect, and you become tagged to it. And once you become one with it, then you'll become one with the oversoul. But that's the best way for me to explain it. But now see what questions are being asked now? Question ego. In the Golden Book, it states that some of the 24 elders are here on the planet to oversee Nuwapi and Sabians. They live and dwell among us. You would have to quote that to me. I'm not familiar with that passage, that particular quote from the Golden Book. So you have to quote that for me of the 24 elders. All I can say on that subject is the master teacher is one of the elders. The master teacher is the 19th elder, who we should be listening to anyway. I don't know of any other spiritual masters that are here. I've heard of it, but I'm not familiar with them. So I can't speak on that. And then the next one is, have any made themselves known that you are aware? Okay. Assist the master. Dwight, never met, never taught about the spirit surviving off of blood. I finally did. What? Tabuna. Didn't your question, I answered that question in the 4-hour video. I don't know why you keep bringing that up. The master teacher has been teaching this information for over 50 years. Sister, you probably wasn't even born when we were teaching what is spirit and soul, and so you shouldn't talk about subject matter. You wasn't around. You don't know. Don't say what the master teacher did or did not teach. So again, and let me do this. Even if the master teacher taught that information after Afro Uno, there are no other Black people even teaching that, right? And you don't even know who Afro Uno is, but that's a whole nother subject matter. Let's go on and say, so Oversoul is like super Saiyan Goku. I guess I'm not familiar with that cartoon. I think I know what you're talking about. Super Saiyan. I think I know what you're talking about. I saw the movie, Dragon Ball Z. I actually liked the movie, but most people who watched the cartoon hated the movie, the Dragon Ball Z movie. But I like that movie. But it's something like that, the Asians, the Chinese, they try to show it in their martial art movies. Some stuff about this Oversoul. The Doctor Strange movie, guys. The Doctor Strange movie. He's talking about being out of body. In fact, when the Sorcerer Supreme died, she met Doctor Strange met her, and she was in her Oversoul form, because she was talking about how she saw her death coming. She was now in her Oversoul form, in her spirit form. Okay, so that's basically your Oversoul. So you have to become one now. So if you don't raise yourself to connect to your Oversoul, when you physically die, most of our people reincarnate. So keep that in mind. It's one of the things the master teacher has been trying to teach us to prevent. You reincarnate and you recycle back to Earth. And whenever you reincarnate, your memory gets wiped. You start again on a physical plane. So, that's very important, guys. It's our time to go, but I'll try to address a couple questions. How can I get Dr. Yoke entire catalog watching from Kenya? Ooh. First of all, you get a lot of books for free for the master teacher, and they're on Scribes. They're free on Scribes. So you can go on scribes.com and get a membership, And a lot of our books are for free online, and a lot of our videos are on YouTube for free. So a lot of lectures the master teacher did. Let's keep this in mind. The master teacher did question and answer classes for 30 years. People forget that. The master didn't have to write not one book. See, this is what crazy about the slanderers. The master teachers did question and answer for 30 years, at answering any person's question pertaining to these subject matters. And he was able to answer all kinds of questions. I was there. I was there in these classes. I've been a there's nothing you can ask the master teacher pertaining to the subject matters that we teach that he could not answer. Okay, so he has tons and tons of CDs that the master teacher put out that you guys can listen to. So if you're not in the States, you have access to this information. And let me just say this: we as African people, we're one people, one bloodline. We all come from the original Sands tribe out of South Africa. Those are the original bloodlines. And all Africans, all woolly hair people by nature are connected to the same spirit force, the same soul force. It does not matter what we physically look like on the outside, because we share the same African ancestry. That's very important for everyone to know that. Each race is one being, shares one soul force. So the Caucasian race, they share one spirit force. The Asiatic races, they share one spirit force. And the African race, we have our own spirit force and our own. We all share the same soul force as an African people. And our original genetics was the Sands tribe out of South Africa. They had the original genetics. Remember that. So, and that's a good question, knowledge seeker. That's right. None of the Noonie Boos ever met Afro Uno. You know what? Let me do this real quick, and then I'm gonna stop on this Afro Uno subject matter, because I'm gonna bring up who Afro Uno is according to the book, The Nature. I have it right here. Oh no, I meant to talk about this is Dr. York's trial transcript that she kept asking about. I was going to go into the master teacher's into his case, but time doesn't permit. But we're going to continue this next week, right? Episode 3. We're still going to deal with who is Dr. York, because it's still more I gotta address with the master teacher. And I want to address the case, okay? And I was going to go into the transcripts that they keep asking about, but I don't have time for that. But I'm gonna address this Afro Uno real quick. Now, this is the Nature. This is book 1. Okay, this is an excerpt from Nature, book 1. For all those who do not know that they like to talk about. I told you guys, remind you, I did a whole lecture, 4-hour lecture on this subject matter. Okay. All right, so now you go to book 1, paragraph 7. I'm going to start from here. Book 1, paragraph 7. Listen to this. It says this: the Eastern and scientific name of the writer of this book is Afro Uno. Now, of course, Afro means pertaining to Africa, or African, or of African descent. And the word and name Uno means number 1, or first to be resurrected again. This happens every 72 million years from the death called ignorance and deception about absolute nature and its laws and cycles, and the first to be resurrected from the deep grave of deaf culture. This is a key thing, deaf culture, that do not recognize eternal nature and its laws, cycles, and reason as the one supreme being and ultimate power and authority for distinguishing rightness from wrongness. And I can keep going on. But here's the point. Afro Uno stands for the first African to be resurrected, meaning the first resurrected of the mentally dead. Now, who is that? Who is the first one resurrected among us that in public, taught the culture, African culture, ever. He went by a European name. He dressed like a European. So I don't know why they keep saying this. And all due respect to Mr. Johnny Eugene Brown, Mr. Brown never claimed he was Afro-Uno. They made that up. He never claimed that. That came from his family, AKA, I believe, his wife. He never said that. He said he was a student of Afro-Uno. Mr. Brown himself, and I put this on the tape for everyone to see, okay? I put this on tape. Mr. Brown didn't dress like an African. Mr. Brown didn't have an African name. Do you hear me? He went by a European name. He did not teach African culture. Mr. Brown had no students. He had no actual students. Everyone who claims him today came after him. None of them were students of him. None of them. And if you read, go back to the Nature, and you read every paragraph, it says at the end, let it be remembered always and let it be known. That means this information must be taught. Mr. Johnny Brown never taught this doctrine, ever. In fact, the Noonie Boos teach it more than he ever did. So I repeat, Mr. Brown is not the first resurrected of the dead. The master teacher, Dr. Malachi K. York, is the first resurrected of the dead. The master has been saying that since the 70s, that he's the firstborn of the dead. The first one that has nature knowledge. This is a fact. I'm not making this up. And it says in their book, now check this out. It says a person like Afro-Uno comes once every 72 million years. Now think about how special this person has to be. Think about how special he has to be. One that comes every 72 million years and no one knows who he is? How could that make any sense? Why would nature provide us with, he's supposed to be the wisest person on earth to have nature knowledge. Why would he be a hermit where no one knows who he is? That makes no sense. But do the Noonie Boos want to address that? No. Remember I said, watch my video, how to tell fact from fiction. The logical mind deals with parts. They pick parts that's favorable to them. The Noon mind looks at the whole picture and comes to a conclusion. Do y'all hear me? Watch my video. I did a 4-hour lecture explaining who Afro-Uno is, who Amanubi is, who the master teacher is. I show all the facts. We put up a Mr. Brown in our temple. That's the only rebuttal. That means nothing to the facts that I presented, who that man is. And I repeat, Mr. Johnny Brown never claimed to be Afro-Uno. I repeat, Mr. Johnny Brown never claimed to be Afro-Uno. He said he was a student of Afro-Uno, not to mention Prince York, right? He put up a video from one of the students of the master who knew Mr. Brown, who said on record, Mr. Brown was a student of the master teacher. So I don't know why these Noonie Boos keep spreading this false doctrine. It's firstborn of the dead. He never taught nature knowledge. He never taught this culture. And every paragraph is knowledge. Neglect that. They literally neglect that fact. So please, guys, like I said, our people love to take bits and pieces of something and act like it's the facts or the truth. And they never look at the whole picture. If you want to find truth, you must research every detail, all details. So like I said, hopefully next week, I know I'm over my time. Next week, I want to get into, again, dealing with the master teacher, and I want to deal with his case. The master teacher is innocent, okay? And I'm not saying this Obviously people say, because you're a student. It's not about me being a student. It's about the truth. Okay, I care about people who are victims of abuse. Listen, I have three children. I have a daughter and I have two sons. I did all kinds of things to protect my children. Nobody wants their children to be victims of abuse. But the master teacher, when anyone who studies the evidence can clearly see he's innocent, undeniably innocent. And I'm going to show y'all guys this. My goal was to do a detailed lecture on it, and I do plan to do a video, actual video on it, showing all the facts. But I just want to kind of cover this in our discussions so that you guys will know. I'm going to show you the facts, and I'm gonna let you guys listen to an audio of the master teacher's lawyer, his trial lawyer, explaining how he won that case and explaining how the government set the master teacher up. Facts that the general public just don't know because they don't know the case. And they keep listening to slanderers like Chuck Morgan and his lies and his lying website, putting out misinformation and poisoning the hearts and minds of people out there. So it's a long day, but I enjoyed this. I always tell everybody, watch these discussions listen more than once. Listen to my videos more than once. Read the master books. We always said, and the master said, read the books at least 9 times. You have to study our doctrine if you really want to learn this. Okay, you guys ask some serious questions today. What is an oversoul? We're going to talk more about the oversoul and connecting with the oversoul. So I definitely want to make that clear. But study the 9 principles of Wu-Sabat that I introduced you guys to. Remember that. And until then, I bless you all. I love you all. I love our people out there. We as an African people, we're one people. We share one soul force. We got to drop all of these other cultures and come back to our Africanness and our spiritual powers and our spiritual abilities. We must reconnect with our spirit forces that work for us in the positive. We're one people. We're one people. These cultures cannot divide us. So let's come back together in the power of love. That's what will do it. The power of love is what will bring us back. Until then, peace. And I love you all. Why do?